Students, in these slides, I am going to explain it from recovery management system what is meant by this storage structure. In the storage structure, we have different storage types. Before going into the topic, the various data items in the database may be stored and accessed in a number of different storage media. So here in this topic we have three different subtopics. The first one is storage types. The second one is stable storage implementation. The third one is data access. Storage types, already you know how many are there: volatile storage, non-volatile storage, stable storage. About these three things they are explaining in the first topic. Means the storage medium can be distinguished by their relative speed, capacity and resilience to failure, and classified as volatile storage or non-volatile storage. So what is meant by this volatile storage means information residing in volatile storage does not usually survive the system crashes, that you know. Examples of such storage are main memory and cache memory. And access to this volatile storage is extremely fast, both because of the speed of memory, okay, and because of it is possible to access any data item in volatile storage directly. Means memory, whenever we are accessing, the speed of memory access itself is very fast, so that's why. Next, non-volatile storage. Information residing in non-volatile storage survives system crashes. So examples of such storage are, already you know, where they are nothing but a disk and magnetic tapes. Disks are used for online storage, whereas tapes are used for archival storage. Both are subject to failures, that is head crashes may be occur, so which may result in loss of information. Now at the current stage of technology, non-volatile storage is slower than volatile storage by several orders of magnitude. This is because disk and tape drives are electromechanical rather than based entirely on chips, as is volatile storage. Now in database systems, disks are used for most non-volatile storage. Now other non-volatile media are normally used only for backup data. Flash storage, and that is enough we are using for non-volatile. Next, has in this flash storage is having what? Insufficient capacity for most database systems. Next we have stable storage. Information residing in stable storage is never lost. That is the main thing here you have to remember. Stable storage is theoretically impossible to obtain. It can be closely approximated by techniques that make data loss extremely unlikely. So these are the three different types of storage types. Next topic we have stable storage. Whatever the stable storage is there, that we are going to implement by creating the replicated copies. See here. Next we have stable storage implementation. So to implement stable storage, we need to replicate the needed information in several non-volatile storage media, usually disk, with independent failure modes, and to update the information in a controlled manner to ensure that failure during the data transfer does not damage the needed information. Here we take the RAID systems, which are guaranteed that the failure of a single disk even during a data transfer will not result in data loss. The simplest and fastest form of RAID is the mirror disk. What is happening in the mirror disk means the same copy, okay, you will get if you store the complete copy in the disk, means which keeps two copies of each block on separate disks now. RAID systems cannot guard against data loss due to disasters such as fires or flooding. Many systems store archival backups of tapes offsite to guard against such disasters. Now, how storage medium, okay, here how the storage medium can be protected from failure during data transfer. Block transfer between memory and disk storage can result in three different things. The first one is a successful completion, that is nothing but the transferred information arrived safely at its destination. Next, partial failure, which is nothing but a failure occurred in the midst of the transfer and the destination block has incorrect information because of that. Total failure. The failure occurred sufficiently early during the data transfer that the destination block remains what? Intact. Now, we are going to protect the storage media from failure during the data transfer. So, we have one of the solution, that is execute output operation as follows. So, assuming 2 copies of each block like that. Now, write the information onto the first physical block. Next, when the first write successfully completes, write the same information onto the second physical block. So, both the blocks are having the same copy. The output is completed only after the second write successfully completes. Now, here we are protecting the storage media from failure during data transfers. So, how we are protecting means copies of a block may differ due to failure during output operation. To recover from failure, what are the different steps we are following? The first one is first find inconsistent blocks. Means in order to find out that inconsistent blocks, so what are the 2 things we are applying? The first one is the expensive solution. Compare the 2 copies of every disk block. If any block the data is not there, then we can consider those blocks are what? In inconsistent state. The second one is better solution. So, record in progress disk writes on non-volatile storage, that is non-volatile RAM or a special area of disk. Use this information during recovery to find blocks that may be inconsistent and only compare copies of these and used in hardware read systems. What is the second one? If either copy of an inconsistent block is detected to have an error, that is bad checksum is there, overwrite it by the other copy. If both have no error but are different, overwrite the second block by the first block. So, these are things here you have to observe in the case of a stable storage. Next, we have data access. So, in the case of data access, you are going to know what are the physical blocks, buffer blocks, next disk blocks. So, here the database system resides permanently on non-volatile storage, usually disks, and is partitioned into fixed length storage units. They are called as what? Blocks. So, whatever the fixed length storage units are there, blocks, which are called as blocks, which are divided into 3 types here. Blocks are the units of data transfer to and from disk and may contain several data items. So, transaction input information from the disk to main memory and then output the information back onto the disk. The input and output operations are done in block units. The blocks residing on the disk are referred to as, in the disk which are referred to as what? Physical blocks. The blocks residing temporarily in main memory, they are referred to as what? Buffer blocks. The area of memory where blocks reside temporarily is called as what? Disk blocks. So, the blocks which are residing in the disk means physical blocks, and the blocks which are residing temporarily in main memory called as buffer blocks, and the area of memory where blocks reside temporarily is called what? Disk buffer. So, here block movements between disk and main memory are initiated through the following 2 operations, which are nothing but what? Input B and output B. Input B means transfers the physical block B to main memory. Output B means transfers the buffer block B to the disk and replaces the appropriate physical block there. So, finally, we can assume for simplicity here that each data item fits in and is stored inside a single block. Now, based on this, we have a diagram, that is block storage operations. See here, by using the input B, input operation is there, A. So, we are getting into what? Main memory. Means it transfers the physical block, whatever that block is there, that name is A, into what? Main memory. And output B is nothing but what? Transfers the buffer block B to the disk and replaces the appropriate physical block there. So, this is the block storage, these are the block storage operations. Now, each transaction TI has its private working area in which local copies of all data items which are used by the TI, means the local copies of all data items which are accessed and updated by it are kept. So, TI's local copy of a data item X is called what? Xi. Now transferring data items between system buffer blocks and its private working area done by two different operations, which are nothing but two different functions. They are nothing but read x and write x. What the read x can do? It assigns the value of data item x to the local variable. It executes this operation in the following manner. Means in which manner? Means if block bx on which x resides is not in main memory, it issues what? Input bx. It assigns to xi the value of x from the buffer block. Next, what is meant by write x? It assigns the value of a local variable xi to data item x in the buffer block. It executes again two different operations in the following ways. Means if a block bx on which x resides is not in the main memory, it issues what? Input bx. After issuing input bx, it assigns the value of xi to capital X in buffer bx. So at last, transactions must perform read x before accessing x for the first time. Subsequent reads can be from local copy, and write x means can be executed at any time before the transaction commits. So these are about what? That storage.